Who's Who on the Battlefield, Chesty Puller. The most decorated Marine in American history, Louis Burwell Chesty Puller was born on June 26, 1898. His parents were Matthew and Martha Puller, grocery store owners in the city of West Point, Virginia, 35 miles from Richmond. Growing up, Louis loved reading J.H. Henty novels and listening to local Civil War stories. His childhood hero was Thomas Jonathan Stonewall Jackson. Unfortunately, Puller's childhood was not without tragedy. His father passed away when he was just 10. Louis was finishing high school when the U.S. entered World War I. Puller finished out his schooling and joined the Virginia Military Insitute. Inspired by the Marines at Belleau Woods, he was commissioned as a Marine second lieutenant on June 16, 1919, and was placed in a reserve unit. He was put on inactive duty on the 26th, but that was not good enough for Puller. He re-enlisted in the Marines as a private on June 30, 1919. Louis's first deployment was to Haiti, where he served in the all-Haitian unit, the Grenadiers de Haiti. This unit fought guerrillas during the American occupation of Haiti. He led the unit in the unofficial capacity as an officer. He gained a commission in March 1924 and returned home. While stateside, Puller served 2 years at the Marine Barracks in Norfolk, Virginia, graduated the Marine Basic School in Philadelphia, served with the 10th Marines at Quantico, Virginia, and failed his flight training in Pensacola in February 1926. In July, he was deployed to Pearl Harbor, and 2 years later, in June 1928, Puller deployed to San Diego. It was in December of that year that he joined the Nicaraguan National Guard detachment. This unit supported the Nicaraguan President Adolfo Diaz in his struggle to rule the country. While in Nicaragua, Puller was made a staff officer in the unit for a year and a half. Then he led the Guardia Nacional unit. They pursued the rebel Cesar Augusto Sandinoa, which led to 2 battles. This in turn led to Puller being awarded 2 Navy Crosses, the nickname Chesty, and earning him the reputation of a gutsy, cocky officer. In 1931, Puller attended then Fort Bennings, Georgia, spending 10 months learning advanced training at the fort's Army Infantry School. In July 1932, he shipped back to Nicaragua, where he led his unit to victory at El Sas. From Nicaragua, Louis was deployed to China. He led the Marine attachment aboard the USS Augusta, captained by a young Chester Nimitz. He was also an officer of the infamous Horse Marines in Beijing. He was promoted to captain in February 1936 and was sent home to teach Marine officer cadets at the basic school. It was in 1937 that he wed Virginia Montague Evans. They had 2 children. Louis Burwell Puller Jr. became a Marine officer, suffered horrible wounds in the Vietnam War, and wrote the autobiography Fortunate Son. His sister, Virginia Puller, wed Colonel William H. Darbeny, a Vietnam War hero and a commandant of VMI. Chesty wished to attend the U.S. Army Command and General Staff College, located in Kansas. Unfortunately, that request was denied him. He was instead deployed again to China in July 1939 during the Second Sino-Japanese War. Officially, America was neutral, and Puller again served on the Augusta. In August 1940, Chesty led the 4th Marines. The following year, he returned to the U.S. to take command of the newly formed 1st Battalion, 1st Marine Division. After the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor in May 1942, Puller and the 1st Battalion were sent to Samoa to defend the sea lanes that the Empire was attempting to destroy. During this time, Chesty was awarded the temporary rank of lieutenant colonel and protected the Australian sea lanes as well. In early September 1942, the 1st Battalion deployed to Guadalcanal. Their first battle was the bloody Second Battle of Maniqueo on the 27th, when Polar rescued them from entrapment behind enemy lines. He was awarded a 3rd Navy Cross after the October Battle of Henderson Field. On November 8th, Chesty was wounded in a machine gun attack. He was awarded a Purple Heart. Devastated by illness and combat, the 7th Marine was relieved in December 1942. The division recuperated in Australia, and Polar became a regimental executive officer. On December 26, the unit landed on Cape Gloucester, New Britain. Polar commanded 2 additional battalions when they lost their commanding officers. He received a 4th Navy Cross as recognition of this campaign. On February 1, 1944, Lewis was made a temporary colonel. In September, he was given complete command of the 1st Marine Division for the Battle of Belleau. His objective was to take the Umaborgol Ridge, which he did. Unfortunately, during the battle, he lost more than half his men, ruining his reputation. When the Korean War broke out on June 25, 1950, American Major General O.P. Smith chose Polar to lead the 1st Marine Division yet again. Chesty led his men at Incheon on September 15th and fought in street battles between the 25th and 27th. The division also served in the Choiseul Reservoir campaign in November and December 1950. Polar was awarded his 5th and final Navy Cross because of the campaign and the below-freezing temperatures he and his men served in. In early 1951, Chesty was promoted to a brigadier general. Together, he and Smith commanded the division until March. Lewis was not pleased with how the conflict was being fought. The war correspondents he spoke with painted him as a rabble-rouser, and the new Major General was given the command of the Amphibious Training Group. In July 1954, Polar was sent to Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. Already suffering high blood pressure and from heart problems, Chesty suffered a stroke after a particularly grueling infantry division inspection. Lewis believed that he was still fit for duty and quickly recovered. Unfortunately, the Navy denied his request to stay in its ranks. He served as Lejeune's deputy camp CO until August 1955, when he was forced to return to the hospital and his retirement was finalized. Embittered and believing that he had been discharged because of his criticisms of the department, Polar retired to Saluda, Virginia. In his twilight years, he co-authored his autobiography, Marine, The Life of Chesty Polar, with Burke Davis. He attended the McKinnon trial at Parris Island in 1956, and the well-beloved Marine of the Marines passed away on October 11, 1971. He was laid to rest beside his wife in the Polar family plot at Christ Church, Middlesex, Virginia. He was 73. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Thanks so much for watching!